You're gonna have to let me know if we're actually showing up here. I swear to God. Um, sorry. You're gonna have to let me know if we're actually showing up here. I swear to God. Okay. So it sounds like things are happening. I love it how like no. Buck hasn't sent me over that. So I clicked. Wait, hold on. Do I have the stream playing on this PC? No. That was for like a half a second. Oh, there it is. There we go. So currently that's what we got. Okay, I have found display capture. Let's no. Oh, you horrible, horrible human being! Why would you choose? I completely am aware of this. All right. That that is fine. We're here. We're streaming. It's 6:33. Hello. I'm gonna get drunk. Fuck, I just mute myself because we had set up the push to mute, right? To go vape, right? No, I had set that up on Discord because Buck is the one who hosts. So I clicked the push to mute, I vape, and then I realized, wait, fuck. My voice isn't going. Are you quiet? So this is my problem. This is why. Do I have desktop sounds down? Desktop audio is say something. Pig, say something. Oh, I'm sorry. You're not quiet. You're non-existent. Give me a second. Audio. Uh, there we go. Now you're there. Okay, say something.
Something.
So do you remember
Something.
how I
Something.
was mentioning to you that I've well, okay. So I shall explain. I have been gone a week. In that week, right before that week, I took apart some things. After I came back from being gone that week, I added a new PC to my smorgasbord of computers. And uh, while I was there, I was like, why don't I just start changing around components and things between these PCs? Make one a
Ba-
complete. What?
Basically, what the story that you're explaining comes down to poor planning and unfortunate circumstances.
Not poor planning. I was not told until what? An hour ago that I was going to be the one streaming and I was at work until
I didn't
30
say
minutes
the poor
ago.
planning was on your part.
All right.
I said the poor planning was on Buck's part.
All right. I can concede this.
And you are a factor of unfortunate circumstances. and I just dumped all of my freaking Andes mints on the floor. God damn it.
Andy's mints.
Yes. You know those pillow mints you pick up with like Italian restaurants as you're leaving? They're
Oh
in a bowl.
yeah, yeah.
That's what they are. I like them. So I get them. And my wife bought me like 3 big packages of them a couple months ago. Like actually about 6 months ago.
Right, not too long after.
And I've barely eaten them because I forget I have them, and she's eaten like 2 packages of them.
I only bought you 2 packs.
You bought me 3. Italian
I
restaurants
bought
as
you
you're
some
leaving?
for Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I bought you 2 more after.
Okay, so she ate half of them.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And like the things.
I mean, she's been doing it for like, she's been eating them for, I think, 3 months now, and it
Yeah.
took her 3 months to eat half of them, so
Jesus.
I've decided she's not going to get any more.
I guess
And in
that
order
makes
for that to
sense.
happen, I have to eat them. But anyways,
Speaking
folks,
of interest, oh, go ahead.
thanks for joining us tonight. We are actually able to stream tonight because Buck isn't the one actually, streaming with his shitty internet. We now have Pop streaming with
I
his
was.
Amazeballs internet.
Is it coming through nicely? I can't even fucking tell. Um,
Yeah,
I know,
it's coming through just fine.
like doing all this reminds me of two things. The first thing, when I would run sound live at stages, and then
Mhm.
the second thing is the fact that Buck said he never gets bored, is because I'm spending all of my time watching shit. The stream is getting to go. Yeah,
Um,
no. In response to what Buck said, I'm kind of in agreement, and I almost made that statement a little bit earlier. Why don't we have
you
Panda
mean
for
having
the
Panda on?
yeah for the
Well,
third channel, at least until Buck shows up?
because A, we only have one computer, and B, we only have one headset.
I can't really make.
If
any
I had a
sense.
boom mic, then things might be different because I might be able to
Right.
actually figure out a way to set up both um headset for her and a headset for me, but not necessarily 2 separate inputs.
That's how I bring Topaz on.
Mm-hmm. But I don't have a boom mic, so
Oh my god.
maybe one day in the future we'll have her on and she'll embarrass me in front of everybody by telling people things that are private and personal. Ah, who the fuck am I kidding? I tell people things private and personal all the fucking time. I'm not embarrassed by that shit.
I was gonna say, wait, you're speaking of this just as Panda doing it? Nah. Alright, I have had a good amount to drink. I have had a long week. Why don't we start with you, Pig? How has it been? It's been 2 weeks, right?
Well, kind of crappy actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, slow period hit for work, so I'm missing like half of my hours last week, and it looks like it's going to be shaping up to be the exact same thing this week.
Shit, that sucks.
But it's only supposed to be last week and this week because they're switching things up, trying to get things ready for heating season. It's really fucking early for heating season to be starting, but still, they're trying to get us work because they have very poor work management skills, so they throw as much work as they can on us as quickly as they can. And then when we get to the end of the season, we have no work because we did it all.
Huh.
So instead of us all just doing a whole bunch of maintenances, I've already done all the maintenances because they didn't want to spread them out for some reason.
Uh, Man, I found out that the way that my job handles vacation is, you get like a set amount of days. So like I have 10 days, right? I can ask for a week off, but 2 of the days, like, so 7 days, but 2 of the 7 days I don't get
Excuse me a
paid
second.
for. Okay, I'll just talk to stream. 2 of the days I don't get paid for, um, because, they don't pay you for weekends. But at the same time, I lose those 2 vacation days, even though I don't
That's
get paid for them.
fucky.
It is, right? So I wish I would have known this because I was told this like 2 days before I went to vacation. I would have just asked for Monday through Friday off as vacation days, and then Saturday and Sunday put down as can't work. But no.
Sorry, I had somebody calling my phone and I didn't recognize the number, so I figured I'd answer and fuck with a telemarketer if that's what it was. But it's 9:45 at night, so it was just somebody calling the wrong number.
Man, I don't pick up phone numbers unless I recognize them. If they really want to get a hold of me, they'll leave a voicemail or text.
I used to, back when I was in the military, but that was when if you didn't pick up for Gunny, you were gonna be fucked up.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much.
When you're in that kind of an environment, I can understand that. But there is nobody that needs my attention.
Oh, yeah, I don't
that
do that anymore.
Know the phone number to.
Yeah, I don't pick up the phone for numbers I recognize, not phone numbers I don't recognize.
And like, I think it was 3 years ago now. Google and Apple both really well implemented caller ID where you didn't have to pay for it because you used to have to pay for it.
Yep.
But they added it pretty solidly into just base Android and base iOS. Well, and so not only do I get around that theory because it'll tell me, oh, I don't have like the shop that my car has been in, the number for that, but caller ID knows who it is, type deal.
Yeah, freaking. Biggest reason why I answer phones that I don't recognize is because a lot of the time, one of my fellow technicians or someone from the office is calling from a number that I don't have saved, so I answer it just in case.
That's how it used to be for me. Nowadays, I'll wait for the message. It's almost instant. Like it feels half the time it feels like they've talked longer in the message than it would have taken for that message to be left. Like no joke, I've had entire paragraphs that the message popped up as soon as it went to missed call.
Oh man.
At least that's how it feels.
Do you have visual voicemail where it just transfers it into a
Text,
into a text message? Yeah, Panda wants that, but
Oh, that
I'm not
would.
sure I
that
want
would
to
be
pay
pretty
for it.
cool. No, I remember to get
It's great.
like a long time, like back with like the Droid 2 and like the early Galaxies, to get to your voicemail, right? You could do one of two things. You could do the typical way of like calling a number.
Mm-hmm.
That's the old way. Or you could get an app that does that for you. That's what I thought visual, like a GUI voicemail.
It is. I mean, you have to have an app in
It's
order
not
to
an
do it.
actual text message.
Right.
It converts the message into text.
No, I get you. But now again, I'm gonna sound like a shill for Google. But again, now, at least on the Pixels, I don't know how the Gmail or the Galaxies are. I don't have to pay for an app anymore. It's just there.
Yeah, I have AT&T, so they block that.
Oh, they block
like-
that shit?
Well, of course they
Yeah.
do. It's AT&T. What do you expect?
I
haven't
expect them
had-
to at least try to compete with Verizon, who is their main competitor, which Verizon, oddly enough, Verizon used to be like the most expensive, but when Topaz moved up here and we started searching around for carriers to move her over to, the cheapest and best one to move her to was not T-Mobile, Sprint, or AT&T. It was Verizon. As weird as that is for me to say,
That is pretty weird.
right? And
It's pretty weird. I mean, when I was hunting, when Panda and I were hunting around for a new carrier because I was on Metro piece of shit and she was on Verizon, we found that AT had work and the cheapest, the unlimited data plans.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, we've
usually
switched over
Verizon
from that.
Verizon is usually the most expensive. I think in most cases it is. I think in my case it is the most expensive in my area.
And there might be an
But
area
the
thing.
reason I have it is because there are I go out into the middle of nowhere often enough that I need a phone that works out there, and Verizon has a tendency to work in more places.
Oh,
And
Yeah,
yeah,
I
no,
know
that's why I had to switch from Metro PCS
well, it's,
because there were just way too many pockets in the area that just didn't get coverage from them.
yeah.
And I have that the only time I lose coverage, even up here in the Appalachian Mountains, is when I go into a valley that's blocking the signal from the outside.
Yeah,
mm,
like even in my area, I'm in the Bay Area. There's a mountain range not that's like 20 minutes up, and I'm in the mountain range.
I know
The
which one you're
only
talking about, Hollister Hills and whatnot.
Not Hollister Hills, that's further south. Um, but same kind of idea.
Same
But
chain though.
same chain roughly, I believe. But the I go up there. The only cell phone that gets any signal up there is Verizon because the volunteer fire department has a Verizon tower up right
well,
next to it.
it's
No one else has any signal up there.
here's the funny thing. As scumbaggy as both AT&T, like for customers, right? For Metro last call, I love that. For customers, as
Yeah, I
far
saw
as
that too. Just as you said something.
as as customers, it's not as scumbaggy. Like there's some stuff all cell phone carriers do, so they're not more or less than the others. But with their politics, with like how they've been really pushing to pull some regulations and stuff off of them, as scummy as they are, there is a lot good about Verizon itself because I have never been in a place where I don't at least have a little bit of service. I was in the middle of the Cascades. That's like dirt road with not even telephone wires.
Yeah.
And I could still stream music. Like I was I was like, what the shit is going on?
Yeah.
But and that's half the reason why I've stuck with them is because just like T-Mobile, I don't remember what was the company that stole the guy who for the original back in like the 90s or
Sprint.
80s. It was Sprint. So do
And
you
it's
remember?
not the same guy. It's a different guy that looks like him.
Oh, okay. So the funny thing about that is T-Mobile and T-Mobile less so now. They've started to actually build their own towers, but Sprint, how they got their coverage was they were renting cell phone towers from AT&T and Verizon because AT&T and Verizon have the most cell phone towers in the US.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so how they were catching up and making it look like they had just as good a coverage just because they were renting.
They were
the
using
they were renting
Verizon's
towers.
coverage.
Yeah, they were using their towers. So it was like, okay, like that's a little.
That's one of those. It doesn't matter. The ends justify the means sort of bullshit.
Considering they're all owned by the same company, it doesn't really matter.
Oh really? I've never
For the
heard
most part.
this.
This is a joke.
Do you remember Virgin Mobile?
Yes.
Do you remember how badass the Virgin Mobile CEO was?
I remember how badass he was. I also remember how really bad their service was too.
Oh really? Was it that bad?
It was that
See,
bad where I was.
Even though Virgin Mobile, like they tried a bunch of stuff. They tried the whole setting up tours into just out of the atmosphere space on flights. They tried the whole shebang, and even though they went under, they had policies that were set into place that eventually changed. Verizon, AT&T, and everybody back to doing unlimited data. Cause there was a big stretch of time between like when they originally had unlimited data to like I think it was like only like a year or 2 years ago when they started doing that again, right? On I remember because I've always streamed and stuff, and so when they removed it for the first time, it was like, what the shit. And then they only brought it back like 2 years ago. But even though that they brought it back, it's still a little meh.
No, when I was using Virgin Mobile, it was before I joined the army. It was 2010.
Oh, you have
And
no idea, but keep going there, Peg. I'm
I
sorry.
have no idea about what.
You, Rimshi just posted Verizon GPS is wonky in Seattle. You have no fucking clue. If you live in
I do.
Seattle, you cannot use anything Google
Do
Maps.
you remember when I was
nothing.
up there?
Yeah, I do. It was horrible.
Yeah, so I know.
No, yeah, but could you imagine deciding that you're gonna take somebody on a date in Seattle and not really knowing it, but like thinking, oh yeah, I can completely use Google Maps walking
Ways.
like thing, and oh,
I use
so
Google Maps
bad.
walking all the time through Philly because
Oh, it doesn't work in Seattle. Seattle's just fucked.
Yeah, we
No,
had to
seriously,
use
though.
Miss Rimshi's phone in order to get anywhere.
Seriously though, freaking I have to park so far away from my jobs half the damn time that I'm walking 6 or 7 blocks
Damn.
just to get to the job. So I have to have something telling me where I'm going while I'm walking. It's like, all right, do I turn left here? Okay, I can turn left. I don't want to turn left here. That's a lot of gangs graffiti. I'm going to keep walking straight.
It's funny how much we rely on GPS. Well, maybe it's just me, but I realized this on the drive back from Leavenworth, which is where I was. I decided, so there's an easy way to get there, and then there's a way that takes you through the Cascades, right? Because I'm on the west side, Leavenworth is on like kind of more the east side. It's definitely on the east side of the Cascades, but like not deep enough over there. And the easiest way is to take a highway down to the big interstate that just takes you straight through. I decided that I was going to go through the middle of the Cascades, which is called Stevens Pass, which is a really great place to go if you ever want to go like snowboarding and shit. And they have lodges and it's wonderful. But when I decided to go there, I realized, oh, well, I really don't want to try to go through Seattle or all the big towns because that's the direction it was taking me, and it wouldn't, at least at that time, it wouldn't let me change the route to try and figure it out. So I had to actually plan out my route by just looking at Google Maps, and it felt strange, but the strangest part of it was like, why does this feel strange? It's not been that long, technically, like relatively,
it's just a map.
that we've had. Well, right, but it's not been that long, relatively, that we've had something like GPS to tell you where you need to go.
It's been about 10 years.
Oh, I get that, but
it's been about. Actually, I think it's been closer to about 20 years, 10 years since it became really popularized.
Yeah, I remember 20 years ago is when they started coming out with those
Garmin.
Yeah, Garmin.
The Garmin dashboard, and then when smartphones start having them with Google Maps, all of a sudden Garmin was like, "I'm fucked."
Yeah. Now
do they
they've
even
got.
still exist?
Yes, they do.
I don't think
they've branched out. They have decided to go towards the more commercial market. And
they make smartwatches now.
They also make smartwatches, which are actually dope. They're really solid. Granted, I prefer my Samsung gear, but my cousin, she has a Garmin and it lasts her like 4 days.
Nice.
And I liked that. And I'm like, I wish I had that. Especially since I left my charger for my watch here for the entire week. No, you don't understand. I had laid all out my charging cables and everything that I was taking with me on the couch. I packed it all into my bag.
That
and
was
the
a mistake.
Yes. And the only thing that I forgot was the little... Okay, so to charge... Because they're trying to make these semi-waterproof, there's no actual plug. It's not like micro B or USB-C plugs on these watches.
Yeah, it's inductive.
It's wireless, but it's a specific type of wireless. And so I put the wall wart into the bag. I put the cable into the bag, but I didn't grab the wireless dock thing.
Nice.
You know-
Insert really shitty segue here. Speaking of technology,
Oh, yes. All right, guys, we've done it.
let me repost it for Rimshi
Yeah. Can you
in
see live show?
show construction.
Oh.
He cannot.
No.
Oh.
I'll fix that later.
Okay. Yeah, well, I guess then we'll just stick in show construction for this.
Yeah, I just reposted it.
What
I'm
the
going
fuck?
right.
Exactly.
Alright, guys, power armor. Power armor
No.
is gonna be
No,
a thing.
this is not power armor. Fuck you. This is not power armor.
This
Not
is the
yet,
beginning-
but it's
this is
getting
the
closer.
beginnings of power armor.
This is-
We're almost there.
The fuck was that sound?
That would be his phone.
That would
so-
I
be
think the
Lopez
robots are
texting
coming
me.
for me.
all of us nerding out over this thing. Let me actually explain what the thing is. This little article comes from The Verge, someone we usually despise, but scientists develop robotic shorts that make it easier to run and walk.
This is the beginnings.
It's
And
the beginnings,
an
guys.
exosuit for power armor. Fuck all who wants to doubt me on this.
So I'll read a
It's
little
not
bit.
power armor, you shit-eating spinster.
It's just an exosuit. It's not power armor yet. It's an exosuit.
We're not running it off of a mini nuke. It's not power armor.
Okay, so we haven't, like, obviously we,
We
haven't
don't have
gotten
the armor
like the
packages yet, but yeah.
you know the plated armor yet, but the internals, the thing that allows you to be able to move that giant tank of a thing,
The technology is starting now.
basically.
So,
Let's see.
Harvard University researchers have developed a new powered exosuit. That's a link, by the way. I'm clicking on it. That can make you feel as much as 12 pounds lighter when walking or running.
So basically,
Scientific
no
American actually
exercise.
reported on it. The shorts are it's an 11-pound system which is built around a pair of flexible shorts and a motor worn on the lower back, and it could benefit anyone who has to cover large distances by foot, like mail carriers, including recreational hikers. Fuck you guys. Military personnel,
Which
Fuck
is
is
like
on.
that,
probably the
and
most.
rescue workers.
Yeah, those two are probably where it's going to really see its like debut. Is if
Yeah,
they
I
can-
doubt it.
Well,
I
okay,
can
alright,
almost
here's what.
guarantee the
Here's-
military is gonna be sitting there like, "Oh, you're a fucking bitch. You gotta use a powered suit in order to get around. Oh, you can't keep up with
you
us?
Don't
Fuck
see
Yeah,
you!"
and
All right,
and
listen,
when
listen,
when the
listen.
Air
you
Force-
don't think the
the Air Force can walk and do their ruck march and are twice as far as the Marines and the Army are, they're going to look at you and be like, "Ha, who's the bitch now?"
all right,
Do you really think
don't
the
th-
army, even
hold on,
powered,
hold-
would be able to get half as far as the army, let alone the Marines?
All right, Rimshi, get your head out of your ass. You really don't think that the military isn't going to try and weaponize this at all?
The
Oh,
military is
I'm
probably.
I'm not talking about the military itself. I'm talking about the individual warriors. It's
If
gonna be a point of pride that you don't need the thing.
it's,
You're still gonna have it, but it's gonna be a point of pride that you don't need it.
oh, of
Uh,
course.
You start with cyber
still going
clothing,
to-
you get to cyber limbs.
We
It's
have a
perfectly
buck.
logical.
Goodbye, Rimshi. I'm kidding.
Oh, no,
Rimshi, do you remember how you felt after a 10-mile ruck march with 80 pounds on your back?
Yeah, like I wasn't an Air Force pussy.
Uh-huh. Do you remember how fucking miserable you felt walking that 10 miles and then how fucking ass you felt after walking that 10 miles. Even though you can look back and say, ha, I made it. Fuck you, Air Force.
I think it was the lack of sleep that did more, because the hiking was not that big of a deal. It was the lack of sleep and the drill instructors that really fucked you over.
No, for me it was the actual hike that drill instructors I didn't give a shit about. Fucking lack of sleep, I've been doing that for years anyways. But seriously, 10-mile rucks kicked my ass. Fucking hated it.
Alright.
Anyways, but yeah, from a standpoint is it's like
Oh,
the
there's no
soldier-
way in hell the
they'll
military's not
have
gonna
you
try.
they'll have you train in basic training without the fucking thing, but once you're actually out in the field, you're gonna be forced to wear it.
I wish it was true that they'd train you without that, but give it about 20 years and that you'll even be using it in boot camp. Like
Well, give it 20
Marine,
years
okay,
and you'll have a
okay,
full
here,
bodysuit.
this goes into some of the issues I have with the changes that the Marine Corps is making. Marines are supposed to be trained, highly trained in the basics.
Okay.
When it comes to shooting, the uh most basic you can get with sighting in on a target is with iron sights.
Yep.
I can hit a 500 foot. I can hit a target 500 feet away with iron sights.
So
They
can I.
don't. The Marine Corps doesn't train with iron sights at all anymore.
When did that happen?
I don't know. It happened probably about maybe about 5-6 years ago. Fucking stupid.
Well, I've been out of the army for 2 years, but I'd never heard of that. It's like during basic training and during basic qualification, yeah, you have to train. You have to qual with iron sights. But when it comes to like actual theater operations training, it's like they're gonna have you use the equipment that you're issued, which is gonna be red dot and reflex sights. The army does the same thing, but when when you're qualling, you still have to use the iron sights first.
All right,
Yeah,
guys,
well,
back to the baby beginnings of power armor.
Right.
Boot camp got rid of that. It used to be that way. It looks like 2016 they decided to switch over. And what it is what it used to be was you'd go through boot camp with iron sights, and then in the combat training that you go through after boot camp, you'd be using ACOGs. So you'd actually
Okay.
train with what you had, but you always went through boot camp with iron sights. They got rid of that entirely.
Now that I have control of the screen, I have complete
So,
ability
according
mute
to
all
the
of you and
researchers
just
who
click
have
play
published their findings
this.
in the journal Science, this system differs from previous exosuits because it's
what?
able to make it easier to both walk and run. I am clicking the fucking link. Hold
Exactly.
your horses.
I can't click
Yeah,
it because
I'm
I'm
sure
the one running
The
this
challenge,
thing.
as shown by a
Exosuits have been
video,
around for a while. It's just this is the closest to a production exosuit setup that they've had.
yeah, the challenge, as shown by a video accompanying the research, is that your legs work very differently depending on whether you're walking or running. When walking, the team says your center of mass moves with like an inverted pendulum, while running, it causes it to move like a spring mass system, which is true. Your muscles and your body moves differently depending on whether you're walking or running.
Fact.
The system needs to be able to accommodate both of them and sense when the wearer's gait changes. I mean, that's true. I mean, our walking is probably the most complex walking of the vertebrates.
Walking's technically more complex than running. Running
Don't
just
click
takes
on the
more
video;
energy.
it'll fuck you over. Yeah, walking is more complex than running because there's a lot more stabilizers that go into the walking portion of it.
Really? But
Yeah.
it does use more muscles to run.
Yeah,
No.
it uses more energy to run.
Oh. Okay.
It uses more energy to run. Basically, the reason why you use more stabilizers is because, for the most part, you have 1 foot in contact with the ground, and you have barely any momentum. When you're running, your body is making use of your momentum to keep you going and keep you upright. Running is basically a controlled fall.
Yeah. Also, you're only in contact for brief periods. You're not 1 foot on the ground the whole time. You're pushing off with one. You get off the ground. You've got a bit of a stride. Your next foot hits and pushes. And if you need to make any small adjustments, that's where those adjustments happen. But for the
Yeah.
most part, you're pushing yourself forward.
Yeah, 80% of running is you're airborne.
Yep. Well, is it 80?
I'm pretty sure it's 80.
It's definitely up there. It's above 50%, but I don't know that it's
Yeah,
necessarily
you
80.
spend you spend more time out of contact with the ground than you do in contact with the ground.
Absolutely.
Okay, the exosuit works by connecting motors to worn on the lower back and the wearer back to the
Through a
wearer's.
series of
Just go ahead.
a series of actuation cables. By applying force to these cables, the system is able to assist in the gluteal, your butt, muscles, and powering the legs. The whole setup is powered by a waist-mounted battery, which has enough range for 5 miles. Oh, it's fucking useless then.
All right,
The
now
exosuit
okay.
has a total combined weight of 11 pounds, although the same team is currently developing a system that weighs 40% less.
All right, I'm gonna derail this conversation for just a second. It's funny that you decided to translate the word gluteus or gluteal.
Gluteal
That word.
muscles.
All right, gluteal muscles. All right, the reason why it's funny is because everyone has been 10 years old that has watched this, and
Gluteal muscles is a muscle group that includes the butt cheeks and the upper thighs.
yes, and
The
I'm
back
pretty
of the
sure
upper thighs.
everyone has made a joke about the gluteus maximus. I don't
But
care
it's
who
only
you are.
one of them.
I
It also
understand.
If you
includes
have
stabilizer
not, then you
muscles
didn't
and-
go through high school.
I'm just gonna be
Pretty much.
honest. I'm just gonna be honest. You just didn't need to translate it because
Oh, there are some people who are stupid. I'm not saying anybody in our audience right now is stupid, but
Also-
maybe 10 years, from now, if this system hasn't, this channel hasn't been completely nuked off of YouTube, somebody
Hey,
who is stupid will
the
pop
only-
by and need it to be translated.
the only video that has been taken down, I actually got back up. I checked.
Oh,
it
good
out.
job.
I saw
was
that,
it a
yeah.
good? Was it a good deal of editing or?
No, just had to mute.
Mute the music at the right time.
Yeah, it was, and it wasn't over like gameplay or anything. It was the intermission.
Yeah.
Got it.
So,
That's
Uh,
hilarious.
Back
You-
to this
if-
article.
Yeah.
Back to this
Back
article.
to the
You
article.
said 5 mile. It being 5 miles range makes it useless. That makes it useless for any military application.
Hold on.
There's
Yeah.
still
Let's roll
plenty
this
it's
back.
useful for in first responders.
First responders and say mail carriers.
Yeah.
So they'll walk around. They'll walk about 2 miles worth, go back to their mail truck, swap the battery out, move to the next location, and then walk another 2 miles.
Okay,
Yeah.
so hold on. I think you guys are being just a little bit too pessimistic about this.
It makes me
Batteries
sad.
all right, batteries can be changed, and batteries are actually pretty universal as far as their base components go. Like,
So,
you
let
run
me-
into this
let me
with
put it-
cameras, right?
Let
Can't-
me put it this way. The battery is probably the heaviest component
Well,
of
maybe
that
not
system.
in this case. Maybe not in this case. The motors can be pretty heavy too, but yeah, it's going to be one of the heaviest, if
No,
not the
D-
heaviest.
don't get me
So-
wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not stating that this is like an easy fix. I'm just saying this can be fixed pretty easily, and it's early
Not as
development.
easily as you seem to think. The big issue, like first responders, they're close to a vehicle. Well, most of the time, they can get, if they need to, they can get to a car and switch out the battery, no problem. You're talking military. You're talking the potential for a 3-day outing.
yeah.
All right, so
The
have you
moment
ever heard
that
of
the
a
more
one-way?
batteries you tack in, that's the more weight you have to add. If it's only good for 5 miles, you're looking at probably a 40-mile hike. That's 10 battery. No, that's 20 batteries you have to carry.
All right, let me
Not to
bring this-
mention, you're going to want a
That's-
frame that's sturdy enough to withstand impact if you've got to go to ground.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So let me explain this. So have you ever heard of a one wheel?
A what? A one wheel?
Wheel.
Are you talking about those big, those motorcycles that are just one continuous tread that you sit inside?
No. A one wheel is a kind of just a reimagining of a skateboard, but it's motorized and it's got one wheel.
Oh,
I
I've
know what
seen
you're talking
those.
about.
All right.
Oh,
All right.
yeah, it's got
Yeah.
the big wheel in the
So,
middle, and you stand on either side, and it.
Technically, those
And only
have
people
a
from Seattle will
range.
buy them.
Technically, you only have a range of around the same with the one wheel. But you know how the one wheel gets around this? Whenever you go
Gravity.
down a hill, or you don't have to use that much RPMs, it uses friction to recharge the battery. I'm pretty sure.
How are you gonna make use of that?
Hold on. You guys gotta stop interrupting me, or I swear to God, I will mute you.
He has that
Ladies
power.
and gentlemen, locked and loaded, a show of one Pavaros.
Exactly.
Paul Bros has got drunk with power.
If this gets, I'm just drunk.
Something,
if-
something, active threats on stream, something. I don't know.
if this gets
motherfucker.
if this gets picked up by, say, the military or someone who has a ton of money to put a bunch of R&D into this, I don't see how they wouldn't, with the baseline that's already there, I don't see how they wouldn't make this a much more useful product.
This
Hey, Pop,
would.
let me pop a
Go
couple
ahead.
of those balloons of that what do you call it? Gaggle that you're holding right there. How much money of that goes into military R&D do you think actually goes to the R&D?
Okay.
I'm gonna go with not enough.
So I feel like this is a useless.
You're not wrong.
I feel like this is a kind of a useless question because it's leading to a point. It's more rhetorical.
Okay, so here, let me get into this. This is a device that, like I said, only has a range of 5 miles per charge. Let's assume that it's got an easily replaceable battery that you can hot swap effectively.
Mhm.
Well, that technically increases your carrying capacity for 5 miles, but for every 5 miles you walk, you go through one battery.
And you also have
Once
the
you
dead
swap
weight.
it out, you've got dead weight of battery. Plus, to start with, you've got battery that you have yet to use that you've got to keep on you. Every individual has to carry enough battery to be able to do the entire hike and make it back.
Let's just all right.
It's-
Let's roll this.
So
back.
yeah, let's assume let's say that they implement a way to recharge it using friction, because that's going to be the most likely method of going about that.
Correct.
It's going to be the most reasonable method. You're increasing the
Sorry.
strain on the individual soldier or marine in order to charge the system that's supposed to reduce their strain. And it's going to take longer with that friction charge in order to provide enough power to charge one battery
All right, I have a
than
better
you would
idea.
get from that one
I have a-
battery.
I have a better idea.
You're basically dealing with diminishing returns.
Hold
It's
on.
a lot more. It's a lot.
Rimsey,
I got a better idea.
you made your point, buddy.
No, 100%. I completely I concede. Here's my next suggestion: solar panels on the helmet. Boom.
Now that actually that one, it's not so much solar panels on the helmet.
It's the
There's
backpack.
actually not even the backpack. There's actually something that the military is working on right now that is it's spray paint solar cells.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, the basically it sprays this this solar reactive paint onto a flat surface or a rock of some kind with an electrode attached to either end of the patch, and it creates a voltage, and it can be used to charge devices. They've already been trying to develop it to already recharge the batteries on some of the tech that soldiers already carry out into the field that they need to carry extra batteries for.
Hey, I
It's
have an
that
even
that
better
sort of
thing
thing
to
would
bring
still
up.
require some area in order to get a decent charge.
Okay, all right. Let me.
Last.
See, I'm
Let me finish. Let me
Okay,
finish,
all right,
please.
all right.
The last report that I saw actually showed that a small area, say 6 by 24, was actually producing enough of a voltage to recharge a standard battery pack used in a comm system, a man pack.
Not bad.
Damn.
Not bad.
Okay, so let me also bring up a second thing
see,
to a
I'm just
killed-
over in my corner going, "Where's my fucking Mjolnir? God damn it!
Here's-
All
I've
right,
only
Bob,
got
go ahead.
500
gonna
years."
reference. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Paul.
I'm gonna reference something that we actually killed from the show, turning energy into electricity.
Electricity is energy.
Heat.
It's
Thank
heat.
you. Thank you. Heat.
So
I'm drunk.
here's the thing.
That makes
We
two of
already
us.
do that.
Mhm.
And here's how we do it. We use heat from thermonuclear reactions and fire, i.e., burning coal or oil, to heat up water to turn turbines. But a very large amount of energy is wasted in that process as waste heat. We can't use it all. The thing that I was seeing was they're directly turning heat into electricity so that there's no loss between the two. But the article was really just them saying, "Hey, this is what we're working on right now. We don't actually have anything to show for it, though."
Yeah.
And if that were to actually work, then
Again,
fuck.
this is like okay. So let me bring this back to my original state of mind. If you both remember, well, actually, I think Buck might have heard it. When I first read this, it was right before the show. My first thought and the first thing that came out of my mouth was power armor.
Yep.
Now,
Yeah.
let's contextualize that statement. That doesn't mean that I think within the next few years it's going to be power armor. That means that I think that within probably like the next 50 or so years it's going to
No, I want it to be the next 10 years.
Oh, I understand. But,
I wish
it was
tomorrow.
a lot of the arguments that have been presented tonight have been within the context of this being just almost there, but I know it's not. So I would like to contextualize my statement as being dreams. All of my statements
In terms of
friction powering, like
Ladies and gentlemen,
mean-
this is Pav saying, "Fuck you guys for shitting on my dreams."
exactly.
I mean, in terms of stepping stones, this is basically a pebble.
Yeah.
It's a good size. It's maybe a skipping stone, not a stepping stone, but
all
it's
I'm
a
gonna
good
say,
size one.
all I'm gonna say to that is, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step, guys.
All right, let's. You know, I'm going to take your pebble analogy,
So,
and I'm going to state
you're,
it this
what
way.
you're saying is, if I wear 1,000 sets of these cyber shorts, I'm immune to plasma fire.
Yes.
Boom. So
If you can manage to wear 1,000 pairs of those cyber shorts, you are immune to plasma fire, buddy.
I think
Well,
you're
I'm gonna be
immune
thick.
to
Although
most
that's going to
things.
be mostly due to the material between you
Yeah,
and the
I was
plasma
gonna
bolt.
I was gonna say
gonna say,
that too.
there's
Hey,
nothing
it's
that can
got
get
it's
through
got a
it.
1,000
There's
sets
so
of
much
shorts to melt
material
through.
between
My
you
head,
and
on the other
plasma
hand,
fire.
I don't know. Probably not.
All right.
Well, you got. Well, we at least know your priorities right. The boys are safe
All right. So let me
if they
put
don't
it to
kill
you.
themselves from their own waste heat at first.
I'm going to say that I'm taking Buck's pebble analogy. Let me just put it this way: 2 weeks ago, if you would have told me that someone is in the works to creating the beginnings towards power armor, I would have thought you were dumb. But now that I have seen it and it's actually working, I am now very happy. So I don't care that it's a pebble. Someone else
I've
other
seen
than
full
me.
power exosuits.
Fuck you for interrupting me, Rimshi. I don't care that it's just a pebble. I'm just happy to see it going somewhere. That someone else is like, hey, let's create power armor. I know that's not what's going on, but hey, you know.
They've got full on powered exoskeletons right now that are in testing. They've been in testing for probably half a decade at this point.
Yeah, I think they started playing with Warframes in the 1940s, at least.
If we
Mm.
And that was
have
just like
And
bare
they've
bones.
gotten sufficiently advanced within the past decade to actually test out lifting up heavy ass concrete bags, for example.
Yeah, but
only
why do
Like,
that
they've got-
when we have Boston Dynamics giving us these fucking robo-pooches that we can just kick over for fun?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they have robots that can do fucking backflips, and it's like, you're going into combat, not me.
If only we didn't miniaturize the computer chip and we stuck with vacuum tubes. At this point, we would be having Mr. Handy's.
We could have Mr. Handy's, and we could have fucking Fat Man's.
Exactly. Well, no, that's
Why did we go so
that
wrong?
comes later on, like a lot later on. That's like 2066 or something.
We could
That's
have
next year.
All I'm gonna say is when you said Mr. Handy's, I was like, wait, what? A robot that gives out handies?
No, that's
I'm
Fisto.
in.
That's
No,
Fisto.
that's-
Fisto's a
Fisto,
Protectron.
Please assume the position.
That was the greatest fucking quest ever. If you guys don't know what I'm referring to, there is a quest where you have to go out and find different kind of prostitutes for a.
You know what? Hold on. If there's
Okay,
a
I'm
quest,
gonna
if
shorten
you,
this.
If you don't know what he's referring to, get on his level, scrub.
Exactly. Play more.
If you don't know
Fallout
what he's
Vegas.
talking about, go back to Canada. Just
Oh, Canada. All right, back to this article.
That
That has nothing to do with gaming.
Canada.
All right.
what the fuck was I?
Pig, you gonna pick up reading, or are you done?
Um,
I think we should be done at this point. We've gotten, because like the rest of this stuff is kind of about women.
it's getting a little bit more into it than we need to. It's getting like little tiny details.
I will
Pig-
throw in. I'll
Pig,
throw in
why'd
one
you
little
send
thing.
me a link to this Discord server?
Well, it was supposed to actually bring you in, give you access to the live show channel. So
you have
click
to
the fucking link.
you have to go up
Okay.
into channels into server settings.
So I'm going to throw out
And
one
go to
little thing before you switch
roles.
articles.
Okay.
It's not giving
Very
me
last
access.
line
Yeah,
of this
I know.
article.
I was trying to be lazy.
Oh, did we scare him off?
No.
Okay.
Did someone
Whoops.
leave? Wait, what?
I think he hit the wrong
He
button.
clicked. No, he clicked the link. Shut up. Let's see here. I will mess with this. You guys proceed to the next article, please.
Okay, so is that the next article?
If that's the one you guys want to do, I posted that because it's another tech one.
So the one thing I want to throw out before we switch articles is the last line in this article says the team also hopes to expand the approach to assist industry workers performing quote physically strenuous tasks as well as people with gait impairments. Guys, if you want to do that, just remember to apply the anesthesia first. Don't make this the surge, please. We don't need that. Moving on.
All right, so the next article is about a TV that I want very much. And unfortunately, it is made by Alienware. So the world's first
Not even Elon Musk can afford it.
No, you must afford it. It's just that Alienware likes to add things that make no sense to me. The world's first 55-inch OLED.
It used to be worth something.
It used to. Then Dell bought it.
Yeah.
Gaming monitor lands next month. It cost $4,000, which actually isn't that terrible of a price considering how expensive OLEDs are. Alienware's 55-inch OLED gaming monitor.
What
gets
about
a
the space
price
on my
on
desk?
data. Oh Jesus! No, this is a TV that makes more sense for gaming than any TV. To give small tech explanation of why, there is a thing called response time, and that refers to when you move like an analog stick or when you click a button on your controller, how fast that is represented on the screen of it doing whatever action you have made your character to do. Problem with TVs is they have really, really high response times. As in, like, if you were to take camera that shoots in slow motion, you can see a lot of frames between when you click whatever it is on the controller to when it actually like shoots the gun. And that's a bad thing. That's not entirely a good thing.
All right. Rimshi, you should be able to see the live show now.
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
All right.
It's for some. Oh, it's that would make sense that it's in the text channels.
Yes.
Yep.
Jesus fucking Christ, dogs.
Damn. God damn. Alright,
Bark, bark.
time to open my third pint.
I'm going to go open another, get my last beer.
I'll wait until you
Alright.
guys get back, then I'll get a beer.
Actually, I have it right next to me, so I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, that's convenient.
Alright.
I don't need a beer. I've got porn.
How do you drink porn?
Don't ask questions you don't want answers to.
No, I do want an
I
answer
mean,
to this
maybe this
question.
is fucking cyberpunk. You
I
can
just-
just, like,
Dude,
I don't know, I want a cocktail. Cream pie, there we go. I don't know. Fucking...
that sounds disgusting.
I didn't say it was a good idea.
What did I miss?
Like, what is it? You can get the one now called the fucking blowjob, whatever it was in Deadpool. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Look, man, I just work here.
All right, sticking with with a promise, it made. Why am I reading? I'm drunk. It made
That's
in
why.
June. Dell
You're reading
today
better than I
announced.
do.
A firm release
the
date
move.
on the monitor that started off as a concept product under its Alienware brand, a 55-inch gaming monitor at a 4K resolution. That's a good thing and not a good thing at the same time. OLED display. The monitor, I'm not rating that, is set to launch on September 30th of this year with a $4,000 MSRP. I don't give a fuck about your $399.99.
It's 4K for 4K.
At 55 inches, you want it to be 4K, but unfortunately, you also don't want it to be 4K. Dell first teased this display at CES earlier this year, and by mid-year, we started to wonder if it would ever. Okay, Elysium is really good. Back to the article. Dell first teased this. We started to wonder if it would ever graduate from concept territory into a shipping product. Then, a couple of months ago, Dell told us it was definitely bound for retail, but stopped shy of offering up a release date or price. Now we know both. OLED displays are not new by any stretch, and they are even bigger ones than available if you go shopping for a TV. Some of them are excellent for gaming. Actually, that's not entirely true. From Dell's
What are you fucking talking about?
From Dell's marketing perspective, what sets this one apart is it's the first 55-inch OLED gaming monitor ever built. To quantify the difference between a monitor and a TV, typically monitors have lower response times and better color representation, where TVs have more consistent color representation and higher response time. That's really the only difference. I mean, there's a ton of technical babble that explains it. I'm grossly oversimplifying it, but that's all you need to know. Alright, it checks several desirable boxes. 4K resolution, not really that desirable at OLED. An OLED panel and 120 hertz. I'm sorry, I don't know who you are that is playing games at 4K 120 hertz. You must be one of those weird people who turns your graphic settings down to low to run it at 4K, because that's dumb. I don't care who you are. Why would you buy something at 4K, which is supposed to make the image look better, but then turn down all the things that make the game look better in order to run it at 4K? That's just, it seems...
Because your
Because-
hardware can't support it?
Yeah,
It's
then why
called-
buy a 4K TV, you fucking retard? Just...
Well,
Just-
okay.
Listen,
Pav,
Hey, hey.
the
I
technology
didn't buy
is
the
catching
4K
up.
TV. Someone else bought it for me. And I
have
went,
a
"Oh,
4K
shit."
TV.
I own a 4K TV too, but I use that to watch movies. I don't play
True.
games on
Yes.
it.
I mean, I play games on the Wii on it.
Yeah,
I've been
but that
playing
doesn't
Doom
display
recently.
at 4K.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't even display at 1600 by freaking 900.
You mean 16 by 9 because it's not 1600 by 900. It's there would be the Wii displayed at 720p. So it is 16 by 9, but you might not be getting it. Are you using RCA or HDMI? Which HDMI?
HDMI.
Oh, yeah, so you should be getting
No,
16 by 9.
the game itself literally doesn't have the pixels to display that well. They actually shrink the screen and put in blank spaces on either side, even on the Wii itself.
I have never ran into that issue, but I believe you.
It's the
Ultra-
game. It's the actual game. When they ported it over to the Switch, it's Doom. It's called Doom.
Oh.
Like the 1994 version of
Right,
Doom.
Right. That's
It's a lot of fun, but god damn is it ugly on a big ass TV.
This is the reason why the Switch made sense. Because it just had a really small screen. So even though it was displaying at a really low resolution, it didn't matter. It was
Oh no,
tiny.
I mean, believe me, I love the Switch, and I even like playing Switch games on the big TV. It's just Doom itself is oof.
Old. All right, ultra fast 0.5 ms, which is just it's a pretty solid response time. I think it's the best. I think that's the point to reach because like 2 ms is older TN panels, which is known for their really fast response time. And then 1 ms is the current. So 0.5 is a pretty big. And it also supports FreeSync. But is it FreeSync that is G-Sync compatible? I shall not get into that. The Alienware 55-inch TV or monitor also, because I'm not reading those with letters, also features a super thin bezel and of course RGB lighting because that's where we are in life. This part, the
RGB for the win.
The connection, okay. All right. Now I'm really disappointed. Okay, so let me explain something to everybody who doesn't know. Each port and cable has a maximum amount of data that it can send. And this can be broken down when it comes to things like monitors, TVs, and all that kind of stuff. Hold on. Let me explain this. DisplayPort 1.2 cannot support 4K at 120 Hz. DisplayPort 1.4 can. This is a common issue that I run into with most TVs and monitors. If you buy a 4K TV, unless you're getting a very, very recent one, they only had HDMI 1.2. HDMI 1.2 cannot display 4K at 60 Hz, which is what most TVs are rated at. So, did that make any sense of why that's stupid?
No, it made sense.
Okay.
I was just waiting for you to continue because you went like you had more to say.
So, at this current moment, within all of the products that I have dealt with, the rated thing that the TV is cannot have a signal sent to it. So, right now, this Alienware monitor can support 4K at 120 Hz. It cannot take a signal, though, that is 4K at 120 Hz. Which is really fucking stupid, and I don't understand. Like, my TV that is 4K, 60 Hz, does not have HDMI 2.0. It also doesn't have DisplayPort. It has HDMI like 1.2. Fucking hell. It's annoying as shit, because it's like, why would you create a TV that can support this, but don't add any ports that can actually take the signal that of the current spec that is moving on? There is
Because
also...
most consumers are stupid and don't know that.
Yeah, but why would you ever do that? And nobody talks
Because-
about it. Nobody brings
Because
up
the
fact.
1.2 is cheaper than the 2.0 and the 1.4. That's why they do it, because it's cheaper and they're trying to make money off of stupid people.
Yeah, but there are.
Remember you when you explained all the differences between the different kinds of USB ports?
I
Same
get-
reason.
I get
We're
that.
getting into that territory now, buddy.
I know, but like even professional color grading monitors that have everything, they don't have the port to be able to take in the signal that you're supposed to get the full. That is for.
I feel like we're getting
consumers.
it more. I think we're getting into gender politics at this point when
Yes,
you're
we
and you're talking about trends.
Kind of.
I'm 1080p gender.
Oh my god.
So they don't
My
have the port to
pronouns.
accept this plug.
My pronouns are 0 and 1.
I'm 1080p 144 hertz. Fuck you.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't-
I'm
I don't
calling
think
the
I
you
cops.
don't
have the
think
jack.
you're that high resolution. I think you've gone down to 440
I'm calling the cops. That's
or
hate speech.
480. I think you. God damn it! I went to my electrician side. 440. You're 440 volts.
Come on, bruh.
No, you're stuck at 480p.
No,
You're
I'm
horrible.
3.1 amps. Fuck you.
No, you're drunk. Therefore, you're 480.
Do you even know what that 3.1 amps means?
I'm going to be honest with you. Because I cannot answer that question right now, I'm going to have to take the loss and say no.
Didn't think so.
I can't answer it right now, but don't beat me up over it.
There is a built-in USB hub with 4 downstream USB 3.1 Gen 1, which is just a USB 3.0 port, you goddamn cocksuckers. Along with the headphone output.
Pav
What-
getting hot on this subject.
Alright, Buck brought this up, but I'm still pissed about it. Why would you make... Okay, alright, and...
It's called
this is why I'm a
making
bad
money
co-host.
for making money out of stupid people.
Also some really horrible speakers that no one is ever going to use. Dell is asking prices for a hefty... Dell asking prices is hefty, though. CNET makes a comparison to the specs to LG's OLED 55-inch, which sells for around $1,600. That also boasts 4K and a 120Hz refresh rate, and the tuner to boost. Alienware's monitor... Oh, that's the other big thing, is it doesn't have a TV tuner. Monitors don't have that shit. Alienware monitor supports
A
FreeSync.
TV tuner. What is this? The fucking 90s?
Exactly. But there's no mention of HDR visuals, as which there is with the LG TV. Alright, so as interesting as the Alienware is, it might be a tough sale and doubts next month.
At $4,000 fucking dollars,
it's
it's
like
a pretty fucking tough sale there, buddy.
I will 100%.
I could buy a car for that.
I wouldn't buy a car for that. I would buy a TV.
I would.
But let's not talk about my bad life decisions.
I
You
would
have
buy a
made
car for
plenty
that.
of
I would
those
not
that
buy
I
a
have been
TV.
present for. Your poor life decisions have led to you falling off a cliff.
Hey, I
Really?
got some great scratches along my back, and don't act surprised you know this story, pig.
I don't think I've actually heard this particular
I
story.
don't remember.
I decided that in a back alley in Seattle after
Nope,
drinking
nope.
10...
I'm telling the story because I
Fuck.
was not drunk for this.
Alright, whatever.
So it starts out with Pav was fucking drunk. He downed
I
way
gathered.
too many Long Island iced teas.
10...
He can do
He
that.
was successfully hitting on this chick and didn't know how to finish
How
the
to
deal.
how to finish the deal? Got it.
He didn't. He's apparently not a closer when he's drunk.
I think you're adding too much
He's
to
not
the
really
story.
he's not really a closer when they're not in person either.
Oh, they were in person.
Exactly. That's what I was getting at.
He can't close with shit when they're not in person. Got it. Anyway, so he's drunk as a fucking skunk. So's Jables. He ends up flashing some old lady.
What? Pops, did you flash some old poor lady?
No,
No, I
it
think
was Jables.
That sounds something Jables would do.
No, it's 100%
That does
Jables.
sound like something Jables would do.
It's something
100%
Jables did do. Anyway, so we're walking back to the rental car because me and Miss Rimshi were up there for a weekend, having just a fun weekend.
You
Okay,
picked the
well,
wrong
time.
host.
And Paul
Fucking Jables was
decides,
your
I'm
guide.
gonna go to the bathroom, and I can't wait any longer. I need a place to pee.
That-
So we try out
That
the
sounds
local.
like something Pav would say.
We try out the local convenience store. They don't have a public restroom, and we're almost back at the car, and we see, oh, there's a cliff with a bunch of bushes. We're like, okay, Pav, yeah, we'll stand out here. You go pee back there. It's all good. We've got our backs to him. We're talking, and all of a sudden we hear him crashing into the bramble bush or whatever the hell that stuff was.
It was all
I
sticker
really
bushes.
know is it was pretty thorny, and he's hanging there with scratches all over him. And he's got one leg on the asphalt. And he's got
Tore
his
my
arms
shirt.
up on the asphalt, and he's asking for help. We have to drag him up
I
out
know.
of the...
I picked my shit up. You guys freaked
No, you
out and
didn't.
tried
We
to
had
help
to
me.
drag you up.
No. You guys
See, when he
overreacted to the situation.
See,
I was having a gay
when
old
Pav
time.
said that he ended up with some awesome scratches down his back, I was hoping this would be a happy ending for him. But now I am very much aware that there is no happy ending for Pav in this story, and I'm much more amused at
Hey,
this
I
point.
actually have had
We
some happy
drag him
endings
out
recently,
of the
so,
and we
fuck
drag
you.
him off the cliff. I mean, it was only like 10, 20 feet down to the gravel, but it was all bramble bush and sticker bush and whatnot. But we drag him up and we say, okay, stand right here. Do not move at all forward. Because it turns out he thought that the thorns were more asphalt. And so he took steps forward to not pee on asphalt and right off the cliff.
No, I walked off it. Just 100% walked off the cliff. Like, no
Yeah,
shame.
because you thought that you thought that the sticker bush was fucking asphalt. And you're like, I don't want to pee on asphalt. So you
Now-
took steps forward and right off the cliff.
No, it's
I
not that
will-
I didn't
I
want
will-
to pee on asphalt. It's that you know, typically you want to pee in an area that isn't going to show, it's not going to advertise that, hey, this person peed here.
Let me just go and set this to age restricted and
So I will admit that I have made some very questionable choices while intoxicated. A couple of them had names. But I have never walked off of a cliff.
That is exactly what I did.
I have never walked off of a cliff. I've
And as
walked off
mu-
of a pier.
As much as he would like to say that he dragged himself up, nope, we pulled him up.
No, you all overreacted to.
We were laughing as we pulled you up. You were drunk. What do you think you remember? That is obviously wrong because you were drunk.
I had
So-
fun.
Questionable choices. Questionable choices aside, here's some questionable
I hit a
choices that
Rimshi
you might make in the
spot
future.
Girlfriend, didn't I? I didn't miss Rimshi, right?
You came damn close.
Okay. Keep going, Pig.
them's fighting words.
So apparently, Apple Arcade, which is their answer to Google's Stadia thing,
Yeah, Stadia.
game subscription will likely cost about $5 a month.
I ain't touching it. It's from Apple. Fuck that shit.
Yeah, I
No,
agree.
I'm with you.
I agree. That
I'm with
sounds
you.
horrible because
It could be free. I wouldn't
It's-
touch
Do you,
it.
do you remember
It's-
the
it's
last thing
Apple.
that
They
they
probably have-
tried? I'm sorry. Keep going.
It's Apple. They have one button for everything. How the fuck do you do that?
Do you guys remember the last thing that they tried to do?
No.
It was what was it? It was either Apple Music or Tidal. I think it was Tidal, right?
Probably title.
Well, they
It was
already
this-
have
this title.
iTunes.
It was this.
The fuck is Tidal?
No. But Tidal is this pretentious like top hip hop and hip hop hoppity hop pop
Hippity hoppity
music artists who have decided I don't make enough money from YouTube streaming and Spotify streaming and Pandora streaming. So we're going to go off and create our own streaming site that is incredibly exclusive, and we're only going to go through Apple to do it.
See,
It's
I
so stupid.
I gave up on Apple when I remember this. It was a they moved the search bar to the bottom of the page, as in you had to scroll down to get to the search bar. Like I don't want Rihanna. I don't want Usher. I want fucking whatever band.
Mick Gordon.
What? Yeah. What the fuck ever?
They did it with iTunes?
Yeah.
what-
And then like the next update, they fixed it.
Oh.
I gave up
Wow,
on
that-
Apple.
no.
I believe it was when the iPhone came out,
Yeah.
and I thought it was garbage.
I found the exact opposite, but okay.
I
You're
thought
also
the
a hipster
iPhone.
piece of shit.
I thought the iPhone was garbage.
Okay, hold on.
And-
Let's quantify this. Apple sucks. Apple is horrible. They are a closed off system that doesn't allow you to do shit. They treat your phone as if they treat the same way that Sony and Microsoft do with their consoles. You're renting the experience rather than actually owning whatever you have, and so there's a bunch of
Yeah.
rules and regulations about the shit. No, Apple is horrible. I don't like Apple. But I am enough stated within reality to realize that the iPhone was actually a pretty big step in mobile computing. And
The iPhone was an amazing concept,
Yeah, it
really
didn't-
bad execution.
it didn't do well until the iPhone.
The
3G.
software was garbage.
What do you mean was?
I'm
It
talking
is.
about the original whole iPhone. The software is still garbage, but at the time, let's
It
go.
was
Let's
still
let's
garbage.
let's stay within the concept of the statement.
It's
The
context.
software
You
was
used the wrong
garb.
word.
So I did. The shut up, Pav. The freaking software was garbage. The phone was incredibly flimsy, and
I actually
the
don't blame
touch
Apple
screen.
for that.
I blame Apple for that.
Let me explain
Uh,
why, but keep
No, I
going.
don't want you to explain
No, I
why.
want to, but keep going.
I don't want you to explain why. I just want to be pissed off about it.
Yeah, basically.
I don't want your solutions. I just want to complain.
Okay, so it sounds like
Won't
this is
you
not a
fight
channel
for your
you.
life? The screen was absolutely prone to massive amounts of dead pixels straight out of the fucking box.
Do you know why?
Because they had really shit manufacturing techniques.
No. It's because at the time, Apple had just switched over to a new concept. You see, originally we had like Palm Pilots and
Pav,
things
we'd
like that.
already had tablet PCs.
Which version of the
About 2
iPhone are we
years.
talking?
Hold on. No, this was still relatively new. Palm Pilots used a pressure-sensitive touchscreen, and those old PCs did too. They used pressure-sensitive. The iPhone used capacitive.
capacitive. I know.
And, it was
And we
really
already
weird.
had iPads at the
Yeah,
time.
we had the iPod Touch.
No, we didn't.
And yes, we did. The iPod Touch was a capacitive touchscreen system, and it was way better than the iPhone, even though they were practically the exact same thing, except the iPhone had an antenna in it that wasn't just Wi-Fi, and a phone app.
Oh God, no! Why are you trying to give me this question?
Did you just try to look up if the iTouch was capacitive or
Well, it gave me the
Pressure?
year 2001, but that's not true. That's the original iPod. Or
Yeah.
the iPod. That was the. Yeah, it was called the iPod Classic. No, God, what the fuck, iPhone?
So, that being said, the iPhone was an amazing concept. But because it was such poor, garbage execution, and because it paved the way for their current business model, the iPhone was garbage. And that's
Actually,
how I felt
nope.
about it when it came out.
You were completely
And that's
wrong.
how
You were completely wrong. The iPhone came out first, and then within the same year, the iPod Touch came out. Lawyered. All right. We were doing an article, right?
Something about
Apple still
TVs.
sucks. No, that
I
was the last
agree.
one. We're talking about
Okay.
arcade.
Okay. So
Oh.
why the fuck are we doing an article about Apple? All right.
because
so Apple
it's
might have.
gaming news.
Yeah. Okay. This is the only gaming news we have this week, I guess, and we only got like 8 minutes.
Well, I tried to do other bits of gaming news, but you guys vetoed
You
it.
know what? You fucking suck at this. We're never gonna let you pick the things again. I'm incredibly disappointed with everything that you have showed me today.
I'm completely okay with him picking articles again.
I'm just gonna say that I'm the one who
because
picked
both
out
me and
all of
Buck
these
were
articles.
unavailable. Yes, no, that was the point I was leading to. That you missed the joke.
You are bad at jokes.
You were really bad at this, dude.
You guys really, you guys really need to show up in the Saints server more often.
And
hey,
do
you
the
were messaging me about something while I was in Leavenworth. What was that?
What?
I was last week. I was like in Leavenworth, and I was just on my phone. I didn't even have a computer with me, and I got like a shit ton of like mentions in the Saints Discord server.
Because you should show up there more often.
I should
we were
do
talking
a lot
about
of
you.
things. Why was I being talked about? What is this? I feel that feels good. But
well, if you might know if you actually showed up once in a while.
I don't.
I have
Also,
too much
Buck,
stuff
you
going on
should
in my
pop
life
up
for me
more
to be
often.
showing up there.
I know. I need to be in the Saints server more often. I'm working like 6 days a week.
Yeah, I get that.
Apple might have put a price tag on its own new gaming service. Users will get a 1-month free trial of Apple Arcade, and then they will likely to pay. Did you know that Apple tried to make a router? It was god awful, even for the
Well,
time.
just like most of the other things they do these days. They used to be innovative. And like it used to be that Apple was an innovative company, and so when they came out with a crappy product, it was usually something that had some decent innovation to it. Like the iPhone, it was kind of a crappy product at the time, but it was so innovative that it was actually a decent thing to have compared to other things.
Well,
but it was poorly made and it was kind of crappy.
Yeah, Foxconn. That's okay. So since we're on this, I'm just gonna make this 2-point little thing. Foxconn is probably one of the worst companies you will ever find. I once owned my first computer, actually, that I ever built myself, had a Foxconn motherboard. You know what happened when I finally upgraded that computer to a new computer back in 2015? I took a hammer to it. I'm not kidding. It was very cathartic. I had a gay old time just smashing the shit out of that motherboard.
Okay.
It was horrible. Foxconn was the manufacturers of the original iPhones. And they were so bad that there was I think almost a 5-year lawsuit between where Apple was suing Foxconn for their just horrible manufacturing.
Yeah, but my point is that it was not a very good product, but it was very innovative, which made it a desired product. They used to actually be innovative. You could say, well, it's not the best way of implementing this, but it is the first way of implementing this. Or they'd take something and innovate on how it was done. So, oh, well, this has been done before, but it's done better on Apple. Nowadays, Apple can't even claim that. They just rely purely on their closed system.
I think that's the reason why they're hoping that the new Mac Pro is going to actually be good. Because
Well,
the
maybe if
last
they made it so
good-
that you could actually work on the
Oh,
hardware.
You can with the new Mac Pro. And the original Mac Pro from like 2009 or 2000, I think it originally came out in like 2007, was actually a pretty solid PC. I've worked on them. They're really nice. Instead of having like the individual components, they had trays, and the trays worked together really well. And instead of dealing with wires, their logic board was just constructed to fit with inside the case, and you could add as many hard drives, as many shit, and not have to deal with any wires. It was cool. And then they made the trash can in 2013, and they haven't made a new one until like they announced the new one this year. And it's been horrible ever since, but they still charge for the base model that is absolutely horrible. $4,000. I could bitch about Apple all fucking day. Let's move on. Let's see.
I could bitch about Apple all fucking day too. Let's move on.
All right.
So I just wanted to bring this up.
Okay.
While the iPhone released a little bit more than 2 months prior to the iTouch, they had been in development for the exact same amount of time. And the reason that they released the iTouch later was because they wanted the iPhone to sell because it was the more expensive product.
Okay. I don't see how this proves your original point.
The original point is that the iTouch was much better quality overall in every single aspect than the iPhone. Yet it's the exact same thing minus a cell phone, a cellular modem.
And a minor change to the OS to accommodate that.
I can concede
That's the
that,
point.
but the original statement that I was arguing against was not that.
Ultimately, what it boils down to is Apple fucking sucks.
Yes.
Yeah.
So does YouTube.
I don't like
So we're gonna
like
end
I
on
can
this
I can
title
accept
screen.
their hardware more than I can accept their business practices.
I think their hardware is garbage.
Yeah, but I'd
Ah!
rather deal with their hardware than deal with their business practices, because at least if I was dealing with their hardware on some other setup, it's
But
not
here's the
locked to the
thing.
system the way it needs to be. A
How are
lot of
you
the
going
shit
to deal with their hardware without dealing with their shitty business practices? They've practically freaking
Oh no, that's
locked their
ultimately
hardware in so that you have to deal with their fucking shitty business practices to do anything with it.
All right, here.
You're-
Let me
you're
add a
missing the
rebuttal.
point.
Let me add
a
a
lot
rebuttal.
of their business practices have led to their hardware being so locked down. Yes, but if they didn't have those shitty business practices, then their hardware wouldn't be so locked down and it'd be more usable.
Let me add a rebuttal to
Um,
this whole thing. The iPad. Have you ever tested to see
Yeah,
the
and
difference
I had
between...
an iPad and I got rid of it because it was shit.
Hold on. Have you
I
ever
have to use the
tested-
iPad every single day with my job.
Have you ever tried to compare an iPad to a not Google made, but a Android tablet?
Yeah,
Going
I
to
like the
Yeah.
Android better.
I hate the Android tablets. They're horrible. They are
No, they're not.
slow.
I have hated the Apple interface from day one.
I
Why do I need to press an extra key to do control copy, control paste?
Are you talking about their computers? Because their computers are horrible design.
And that translates over to the iPad.
The iPad is
You only
a lot
have
more
one button to do
touch-based.
everything. There's no back button. There's no app browser.
Now,
Just
Pav,
press the button and shit happens.
To answer what you were just saying, with the comparison between the two, I have used Apple products and I have used Android products. My job last year, I had an Android-based tablet. And right now, I have an Apple-based tablet. The Android-based tablet and the Apple-based tablet, performed the exact same in regards to speed and functionality. The difference between the Android-based tablet and the Apple-based tablet is the Android-based tablet I could drop from 3 feet and it wouldn't shatter into a million pieces.
That's very true.
The Apple product, I can't even drop from a foot and it'll shatter into a million pieces.
Yeah, Apple products, it's a requirement that you get like a Pelican case cover, a Gorilla cover, whatever the fuck they're calling it.
You know what? Hold on. The original creators
OtterBox
of the
or whatever the hell.
the
That- yeah,
original
that's it.
creators of the Droid. The Droid was like one of the first Android-based phones to come out.
Oh, that's
There
It was actually
fucking awesome.
okay.
All right, they created the Droid Razor. The Droid Razor was a kind of callback to the original Motorola Razor flip phone, which, at least how I remember it, when it came out, it was the new hot shit. Everybody
It was
Oh, it
actually
was at
pretty
the time.
awesome.
Yeah. The Droid Razor, on the other hand, I had it in a Pelican case, and it dropped out of my hand from like 3 feet up and shattered. So it just depends. It depends on what you're using. Samsung has defined themselves as one of the top Android makers. And so they have innovated.
But
in a
what
lot of
other
ways.
options are there for Apple? There are none.
Oh, no, I understand.
You don't
that.
like Samsung? Go for something else that has Android. You don't like the iPhone? Well, you're fucked.
You're preaching to the fucking choir here. I build PCs. The entire concept of having one place to go to.
Here's the thing.
Let's talk about arcade and instead argue about how much Apple sucks.
Over the years,
But we're all
Apple
in
has-
agreement that it sucks. At least that.
Yeah,
that's-
we're just
over
arguing about
the
how much it
years,
sucks.
Apple's track record in regards to the resilience of their devices has always been in the shitter.
Pancake.
Apple has also been primary in form, secondary at best in function.
That's true. Oh, that's 100% true.
Android is one of there are so many different manufacturers of Android, right?
Huawei,
Some of them,
Chinese.
some of them have been crap. But the flagship for Android, the Samsung Galaxy series, have always been fairly resilient in comparison to the Apple, the iPad. I've had
Hell, the vast majority of Android devices.
I wouldn't go so far as saying the vast majority.
Okay, maybe not, but
a
least
very large
50% are
portion
better,
of
yeah.
them. A
Yeah.
very large portion of them. They hold up better physically. You know, sometimes you have crappy function because of the choice of components they use doesn't work with Android very well, or they used subpar circuits, computer chips and everything in their freaking thing, but they still worked, and they did what they were supposed to do, and they cost a third as much as the fucking Apple product.
That's true. I agree.
Now, I will take a hit to functionality if I could toss it across the room and not have to worry about having to replace the damn thing, and it being a third cheaper.
I've done that with Android devices.
Yeah, I've tossed my phone across the room a couple of times. And
I tossed it straight up against a cinder block wall, and when I say toss, I mean full overhand arm throw.
When I was married to my ex-wife, I threw my phone out the car window while I was driving down the fucking road. I was that angry at her. And then I pulled over, said, "God fucking damn it," walked back to where my freaking phone was laying there, picked it up, and was like, "Oh, hey, it's not hurt." Cool.
Meanwhile, my sister accidentally leaves her iPhone on top of her car, and it slides off and hits the ground.
Not even
And
moving.
It's irreparable.
It's like, hell, you could fucking sit on your iPhone for like not even put your full weight on the damn thing, and it's a fucking billfold at that point.
the larger phones generally have that issue, so that's not purely an Apple issue.
I
But
have sat
Apple
on
is
this.
one of. I'm not saying that it's always true, but Apple is one of the larger offenders. But it's not. That's not a sole issue of the Apple platform.
I will concede that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Locked and Loaded, where we shit on Apple for about 30 minutes.
Yeah, sounds about right.
I think we had maybe another article planned, but seeing as how we have gone on as long as we have, and some of us have a job sooner than the others that he has to go to,
Mhm.
it is time for us to make closing remarks. No, it is not. We will actually wait a couple of minutes. So how about that sports ball, guys?
Sports ball is happening.
Has the sports ball season been started? I'm
The
sure-
sports ball has been sports balling.
Yeah, the armored rugby.
Oh, hey, everybody's here. So, closing arguments or closing statements.
Closing arguments.
Yeah, arguments.
My closing argument is that Pav needs to pop onto the Saint server more often, along with Buck.
Your Honor,
You're just gonna ignore
everything
Pig?
that guy said is bullshit. Thank you.
I was
No.
gonna say, what about me?
Pig?
You say that you're really busy, so I'll accept that as fact. I'm not
Okay.
gonna push you.
I appreciate that, but Buck
But he
and
also
Pav
probably feels a
have
little
no
bit left
fucking
out.
life, so then they definitely need to go to the Saint server.
I'd like to have more than one day off a week, but we'll see.
All right, Buck, closing remarks.
If you're not aware, Tool's got a new single out. It's fucking amazing. That's it.
Is Tool not like? Okay, never mind. I'm not gonna make this kind of a definitive
What?
statement while I'm drunk on air.
Make this
How
definitive
can you
statement.
be drunk on air?
What's wrong with
and
Tool?
Not make this. Yeah, what's wrong with Tool?
This
It's
would
only the
imply-
first single
Hold
in
on.
13 years.
Hold
Come on.
This would imply I have any personal feelings about Tool to answer the statement, what's wrong with Tool? I have no personal opinions because I've never heard Tool. But
This is
We're
what I
never
heard. This
whored
is
for
what I
Tool?
just heard. This is what I just heard. I don't have any defense against Tool because I am a Tool.
that's what I mean. This is what I was referring to. Hold on. Is Tool not where the term "you're a tool" came from?
No, it's not.
No,
Alright,
they're a
alright.
progressive rock band.
They took their name from that phrase.
Okay, so they're completely self-aware.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
You really think a band that calls themselves Tool wouldn't be self-aware?
Nickelback exists. I can't assume anything.
Nickelback is completely self-aware. They just make shitty music that sells.
Were they?
Fucking
were
My
they?
Darkest
Here's what
Days
I have to
exists.
say in defense. I know this is kind of an oxymoron. In defense of Nickelback, they make music that sells. So is it really that shitty?
Yes.
It's shitty music that sells. They
I-
make money off of it, but no one will admit that they listen to it.
I listen to it.
I
I
don't.
listen to their early stuff.
Okay, what was their original? What was their most popular songs from their early stuff? Like what? Picture Frame or
This
something?
is how you remind me.
Yes.
Rockstar.
No, not Rockstar. I mean,
No.
Rockstar was actually kind of entertaining, but what is that one? The yeah, this is how you remind me. It's probably the most popular one. Rockstar wasn't bad though. It was pretty. It was catchy.
Didn't that feel more country though? Didn't that song
No.
feel pretty country? Like
You're thinking of Shinedown.
all right, let me explain this. The only and this calls back to the original reference.
Seether did it. It was Seether, not Shinedown.
The last okay. here's the thing. I shall quantify my original statement. The only bands that I listen to that are from like
The 90s?
past the 80s are like ska and indie bands. This is a small callback to the fact that Rimshi called me a hipster. I am very much a hipster, so I don't listen to popular music.
He admits it.
No, I've always
Pav,
admitted
closing
it.
arguments.
I'm a hipster.
That's your closing remarks. Is that you're a hipster?
Well, currently I am talking about how I don't listen to popular music and I'm drinking a craft brew local beer.
Okay. Well, Pav, do you have any other closing statements that aren't depreciative remarks?
Apparently YouTube sucks. It's not
Yeah.
about me.
All right. Well, my closing statements, as ladies and gentlemen, this has been a great ass night. I really enjoyed it. We got to talk about some really interesting stuff. We had some really interesting conversations. Pav is wrong.
that just
Thank
should be
you.
the tagline of the show.
Thank you and good night.
Good Nacht.
Shall I update it and say Pav is wrong? Oh god, that's the wrong mouse.
Say good night, Pav.
Good night.
Change the number too. Jesus, it's